Hello and welcome to Leadership PRN. This is the Dalhousie Faculty of Medicine podcast for leaders both new and established. My name is Dr. Lara Hazelton. I'm a psychiatrist with an interest in leadership and leadership education. Today, I'm so honored and pleased to have with me a special guest, Dr. Sharon Burey. Hello, Sharon.
Hi, Laura.
So it's, as I said, a real honor to have a chance to speak with you. And I'm sure that people who are listening to this podcast will be very interested to hear about your accomplishments. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and your experiences in leadership?
Well, that's a big question. So, as you said, my name is Sharon Burey, and I've been a behavioral pediatrician in Windsor Ontario, for over 30 years. And I also have the honor and privilege of serving as a senator for Ontario, having been appointed by the Governor General on the advice of the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So I always say that leadership is a journey. And along the way, I found that leadership really starts from the inside. It really was the way that I found my passion, my calling, and it was really completely congruent and aligned with the faith and values with which I had been raised. So I grew up watching and learning from my parents about what leadership really is, the importance of values and a vision. And, ultimately that leadership can lead to positive change. I saw it in their lives. And so parents can be role models, but not just parents. And I think that was by the process of osmosis, that I got those characteristics. I learned from listening, observing. And I think those impulses led me to become a leader over my career as a pediatrician. And so I watched them work in the church, in community, their own careers, how they led our family, their lives of service. And, so I look back on that as I reflect back over the course of my life. I think that's what gave me the confidence to chart this course. And I think this just underscores the importance of role models. So I'm naturally reserved. You wouldn't think that from all the things that I have done. I am naturally very reserved, a thinker, but I think it's my curiosity that's gotten me into all of this trouble and trying new things. But I could never have imagined that the paths would have opened up so many vistas and opportunities to contribute to society in such a way. I couldn't have imagined it, but I think it's the curiosity that combated everything else about me that led me down this path. So I was determined to become a pediatrician really unusually from the age of 7, and that just stuck with me. I had a wonderful pediatrician growing up in Jamaica. And so when my family immigrated to Canada, when I was a teenager, I was able to accomplish those goals. I guess I was laser focused on it. And although my first love was neonatology, after completing my fellowship, I did medical school and my pediatrics at Dalhousie. When I moved to Windsor, Ontario in the 1990s, it really was behavioral pediatrics, mental health, child abuse. These were the needs of the community. And so being the youngest and the newest pediatrician in the 1990s, I was delegated. I would say delegated. I often want to use the word relegated, but I'm going to say delegated the task of working closely with a child and adolescent psychiatrist to come up with a hospital and community response to mental health admissions to the pediatric ward, because that was a big thing. It still is a big thing now. And I have to say, honestly, I did not want to do it. And as you and some of our listeners will know, mental health and behavioral health training in medical school and pediatrics residency was and sadly continues to be woefully inadequate. And so that started a personal and professional journey that taught me so much about leadership and what it meant. And so I learned really, I would say, starting out, two things from this, which I've carried with me. And it was go where you're needed. And, I think you will likely have an outsized impact. And then the second thing was what I learned from my parents, of course, was service to others. And I found that through advocacy for my patients. And that led me into big leadership roles, which became really rewarding personally and professionally. So I could never have imagined that that would be the benefit to myself and to my family. So, as you know, as physicians, we keep abreast of the literature, and anyone could see what was coming and what was on the horizon for pediatricians and patients and families at the time. And looking in, reading articles in pediatrics, there was the term the new morbidity in the 1990s. And so that caught my eye because as I started practicing, I saw that what I was actually seeing in practice was a lot of learning, behavioral, and mental well-being issues, and that these diagnoses were going to be at the forefront. We had vaccines for infectious diseases. We were pretty good looking after very ill kids, but this was what was coming through the door. And so that was borne out by my own experiences. And now this is what the hospital was asking me to do. And so along the way, of course, you had to get some more training. I did get some more training. And I guess that's one of the things, leadership is experiential. And so along the way, you get more training as needed. It's not the other way around, I found. And so I got more training in child psychiatry and some developmental pediatrics. The other thing I learned, I observed, and then learned, was that collaboration and partnerships were really important, and they were a real powerful catalyst for change. In fact, one of my leadership profs, the late Dr. Brenda Zimmerman, and I feel I have to she's like an angel with me all the time. She calls it generative partnerships, relationships where the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I found this to be true, throughout my career. And in fact, an African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so, experiencing those things in my I'm going to put it, leadership journey, and then, getting some training really engendered a deep sense of humility and real wonder. And just really understanding that within us, and I think this goes back to my upbringing in faith, within us lies the spark of divinity. And I was able to really experience that with the patients, the families, and the possibilities that were open for my patients. And so I will be eternally grateful to them for allowing me to be part of this journey with them. So of course that led me to be a leader in children's mental health, behavioral health, in co-leading the hospital and community's response to children's mental health. In fact, that unit and the stabilization unit is still working today, and people have built on that. And that then led me to go more into the community, and founding ADHD Windsor with various partnerships, including the school board, the University of Windsor, the Learning Disabilities Association, Teen Health Center, other agencies, parents, and families. And then, of course, I went and I spoke about the late Dr. Brenda Zimmerman. I got some more training in leadership, and I was actually part of the first cohort of physician leaders, the physician leadership program, which was really, I would say, very visionary. This was in around 2010. 2009, 2010, where the OMA, Ontario Medical Association, Canadian Medical Association, Schulich School of Business at York University started this innovative program, different from the physician executive courses that were going on and still go on. But this was really, really embodying what physician leadership could be in terms of leading systemic change. And so I think I really benefited from that. I subsequently entered medical politics, and the thing about it is when these things happen, because there's no grand design, people then ask you, can you do this? Can you do that? And you have to manage that and making sure it aligns with your values and sort of the vision that you're now developing. So I was asked to enter medical politics, and so I got involved with the OMA, and I became a pediatrics delegate, which really was very helpful because I kind of got to know the workings of the health system and all the things that go into really being able to provide the kind of care we want to provide as physicians. And then I also became a member of the Ontario OMA Women Committee, which was very exciting, and it's probably one of the reasons that I'm in my new role now. That's an interesting story. And then I joined the the Health Policy Committee. And then, I became the vice president of the Pediatricians Alliance of Ontario, which is the Ontario chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and then subsequently the president of the Pediatricians Alliance of Ontario. So that's a little bit about, this journey, this kind of adventure, I would say.
Yeah, it does sound like an adventure. And I'm thinking about your comment about values and vision and the importance of that in choosing what you'll focus your efforts into, and how you choose where to put the resources that you have and the talents that you have. Do you want to say a little bit about what your particular values and vision are?
Well, I go back to my parents and the role models, and of course, for growing up, honesty and integrity were integral to our upbringing, our faith. And I speak about the spark of the divinity in all of us, and understanding, the importance of treating everyone equally with equity and with value. And so that is at the core of my being. And I think that infused my practice, so that when I saw the inequities, the lack of access, the various things related to your socioeconomic status, the social determinants of health, I was really fueled by that. And I guess some people would say social justice. And of course, that intersects with what we do, and it's integral to both mental health and pediatric care. And so I would say that is probably the core of trying to have the possibilities and valuing the human dignity and valuing every human being, especially children.
How has being a physician influenced your work as a senator?
Well, you know what? I actually, when I accepted the position, I've really, again, another adventure. I wasn't sure what I'd gotten myself into, but I was sure, I was confident that if I put my mind to it, if I did devote some time to it, I'd be able to really see what the role really demanded of me and how I could make a meaningful contribution. And I found it was interesting. I happened to have been fortunate to be, and I am still a member of I'm a member of the Standing Committee on Social Affairs, Science and Technology. And one of the bills that we were working on, pieces of legislation, Bill C-22, the Canada Disability Benefit Act, it's really first of its kind in Canada at the federal level. Provinces have their own disability benefits, but at the federal level. And when I got a chance to, to really hear the witnesses, when I got to hear people with lived experience, experts, we had lots of voluminous amounts of information, data, advocacy groups. I think that really made me feel, I say, as if I were in my office, because this is where I would be, interviewing patients, listening to parents, meeting with school teachers, psychologists, reading all the psychology reports, all the various reports, looking at the lab tests, analyzing, synthesizing the data, bringing it together, and charting a path forward together. And so all that skill set that we learn as physicians, it was extremely useful. And that was a big surprise, because that's a large part of our work. I would say it's probably one of the most important parts of our work as a senator, my work as a senator. And sure, and so that skill set, the professionalism, the ethics, the all of those kinds of things, really that's what you need to become a senator or any role. So the skill set was there, and so I would say that is probably the most surprising thing, to tell you the honest truth, to say. Well, the biggest part of my job, but the part that I felt at home with. And as you know, being a psychiatrist, I'm so used to writing so many long reports as a behavioral pediatrician. Other people from different parts of medicine may not have had that training, but we have to read a lot and we have to write a lot. And so that's part of it, and those probing questions, your interviewing skills, reading between the lines, creating a safe space and an environment, and truly listening. It's what you need. That's a really important stuff, and I think that's probably why I was able to be involved in so many things already. So that's the training as a physician really has stood me in good stead. I just wanted to add that I have come to see this space as a sacred space, in the same way that when we're in our offices, things are confidential, and it's a special space where your families, children share their journey, their concerns with you. It's the same way I feel when we're doing in the committee and actually hearing witnesses and experts. So I wanted to add that.
It's interesting, the parallels in some ways that you're drawing between the work of politics and the work of medicine, the listening, the creation of the psychological safety, the integrity, and so forth. What advice do you have for early career physicians with an interest in leadership?
Well, I'm not really that good at giving advice, but I could probably share. I've shared my journey, my experience, and I think listeners can take from that. I would say, I started out, going back from saying leadership starts on the inside. And so you start with your own values, and then you see what's happening in your practice and see where you could, or you may not even know, but where you feel you could make an impact. And again, I say, starting where you're needed is also really important, because if so many people are doing the same thing, then we're not really serving patients. The other thing is to build partnerships, as I alluded to. Working as a team, team building, collaboration is really important. And then get some training along the way. I think. But don't start with the training first. Start with the working first and seeing how it goes. Leadership is an experiential and an applied field, much in the same way as medicine. And so, I would say that would be really important. And then one article I will tell people about, this was written by a management guru called Peter Drucker, and it's called Managing Oneself. And I recommend that to everyone who's a knowledge worker and thinking about leadership, because your role is going to change really every 7 years, maybe faster now. But that would be one piece of advice I would give. That article is key.
Dr. Burey, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today. It's been a real pleasure. You've given me a lot to think about how we can align our values and the things that really matter to us with where we put our energies. It's very inspiring.
Mm-hmm. It's been a pleasure really speaking with you, Laura, and your team. So thank you again.
And that's another episode of Leadership PRN. If there's someone you would like to hear me speak with or a topic you'd like to hear covered, you can reach out to me at lara.hazelton@dal.ca or lara.hazelton@nshealth.ca. Until next time, take care.